Well, hello and welcome to the Bulletproof Business Planning session with AnnieMac Worx. If you're here today, you may in fact be at a breakfast event, a free coaching environment with one of our real estate partners, or you could be viewing today as part of our National Lunch and Learn League in a live or online or on-demand environment. My name is Russ Fitzpatrick, and it's my pleasure to bring to you some of the best practices that we've discovered throughout the real estate community as it relates to business planning, so much so that we refer to it as a pretty bulletproof business planning mechanism for our real estate referral partners. I've coached thousands of realtors in a six-figure business plan, and I hope that you'll let me help you today just look at your residential real estate career from a little bit of a different um, perspective. Maybe add a little bit of perspective in your six-figure business plan. Today I hope to give you enough information that you can determine on your own what is the right business plan for you and your family. How do you perceive work-life balance? How do you perceive the financial opportunity in residential real estate, specifically in your marketplace? The next thing we're going to do is we're going to give some guidance and, like I said, some best practices for you to take advantage of. This is from 35 years of residential real estate experience working with some of the elite real estate coaches from across the country, but also work with top realtors every single day and analyze together with them what's working and what's not working as we approach the new year. And the most important thing I think that you can accomplish today is really to put some passion and some conviction, some belief and some enthusiasm behind your business plan. Too many real estate agents that I know are kind of walking around kind of a wandering generality. They're a victim to how many leads they're getting, or they're a victim to how many listings they have or don't have. And they even feel a little bit victimized by the way that their consumers behave. Buyers are liars and sellers are worse. Well, if you want to solve what ails average and below average producing realtors, you have to first solve the key word, which is desire, and why they're desiring to go somewhere specific. We're going to be spending a few minutes on that aspect of the personal journey in business planning. Again, my name is Russ Fitzpatrick. That's my beautiful wife, Carrie Fitzpatrick, and together we run the AnnieMac Worx real estate productivity platform. We also run a technology suite of services that's absolutely free for all realtors. So if you're with a residential real estate office today that's partnered with the AnnieMac Worx, or if you're with a loan officer, a mortgage professional from AnnieMac Home Mortgage, ask them about how to get your own MyWorks suite technology, which is free from all realtors. And today, throughout our conversation, we're going to be showing you some of the resources that are available to you in the AnnieMac Worx real estate productivity platform. Remember, there's never any charge for anything that we do together as a team. We got to go back to this conversation about what is your why. Um, a business plan usually ends up going in a drawer somewhere unless it's fueled by a deeper sense of white hot burning desire. If I were able to create a business plan for a provider, a family provider that required $10,000 a month to raise their family, then that why of $10,000 a month would drive the business plan, right? If on the other hand, I worked with a semi-retired person who was on a pension and or the spouse is the main breadwinner in the family and you're dabbling in real estate, the key to business planning is to work with doers, not dabblers, to work with full-time career-oriented people who require income for their livelihood. Too often, residential real estate becomes kind of the island of misfit toys, and they're a bunch of individuals who have varying degrees of income requirements, right? So the easiest way to determine whether a person's going to be successful in residential real estate to me is to first measure their level of desire. What is their income requirement, not just what is their income wish. So we're going to really talk a little bit more about your why today and realize that a plan without a purpose is going to sit in the drawer somewhere. There's nothing we can do to help you execute your business plan if you don't have a clear, deeper desire within the context of that business plan. And then the next thing we're going to do together today is we're going to start to put some timelines on your dreams. We're going to put some benchmarks into your goals. We're going to start to measure the benchmarks as it relates to what are you required to do within your business plan and when are you required to do it by. So, the idea that a business plan would eventually become the authority, and this is a key observation of top realtors across the country. Their business plan becomes their boss almost. In other words, once we've structured the proper plan for you, once you personally have put some passion and some conviction behind your plan, it's not going to sit in a drawer somewhere because you actually have a white hot burning desire to get to that next income level, if that's what drives you, or to save more money for your retirement, or to provide for your children's college education, or to prepare for your daughter's wedding or your son's new business that he's launching. And these are all general concepts that we hear from our realtor partners from across the country. But the key to making a business plan successful is that the business plan becomes the authority over your time management. A well-conceived business plan becomes an authority over your weekly to-do list, your task mastery, right? There's an old saying, time on task over time. Say that with me. Time on task over time. If we allocate 1 hour a week to a particular task and we put our time into that 1 hour each week, then over time, that task starts to build results. So part of your business plan is going to be kind of a task master. A well-conceived business plan will, in fact, become an authority. I find Napoleon Hill's quote here to be so relevant to residential real estate agents across the country. And I meet realtors that sell 6 homes a year. I meet realtors that sell 60 homes a year. I meet realtors that sell 16 homes a year, and I meet realtors that sell 160 homes a year. And it seems to me that this deeper desire, this idea that wishing will not bring real estate production, but desiring the real estate production, desiring the listing inventory, desiring the highly qualified buyers that trust you as their consultant and advisor, if that becomes an obsession to you, and that in the obsession that you have for your residential real estate business, that you're able to start to create definitive ways and plans on how to acquire that residential real estate production. Then the last step is just to back those plans up with a persistence which does not recognize failure. And I've seen that firsthand in my life as a 35-year veteran in real estate. I've also seen it in the lives of countless of transitional realtors that are coming into the business. When they have this deeper seated, white hot burning desire, and then they take some mentorship from a team like ours, or they take some mentorship or leadership from a Tom Ferry, a Floyd Wickman, a Walter Sanford, or a Brian Tracy. When they listen intently to a Tony Robbins sales trainer or a Brian Tracy sales trainer, what they find is there's actually specific plans that can be allocated to your obsession, to your desire. So you take the deeper desire first, which is ingredient 1, without which the plan has no meaning. You take the definite plans to acquire that real estate production that you're looking for, and then you add to it this little element called persistence. And persistence, which does not recognize failure, That way you can assure yourself the achievement of those specific goals that we put into this plan. It's my goal today to help you describe to you some of the key characteristics of residential real estate agents that are very successful, and we enter those characteristics into your business plan. And the first one I want to do is take a look down the left side of your screen. Do I want to do something and do I get to do something? Or I ought to do this or I got to do this, right? These are two mindsets that contradict each other. Same task, but I want to call 10 expireds this weekend because I want to get a listing. I get to host an open house this weekend because I'm going to meet like 10 buyers this weekend at this open house. I ought to be doing expireds. I ought to be doing for sale by owners. I ought to be doing a geographic farm area. Oh my gosh, I got to start doing open houses next week. I got to do that. I have to. See, when you have a mindset of want to and get to, then your internal dialogue sounds different, right? When you have an attitude of I want to do this and I get to do this, you're living on the left side of the screen. You're living with purpose. You're living with some passion and some enthusiasm inside of your business plan. You probably have a greater sense of appreciation for the opportunity that you're given in residential real estate. And you'll find that most of the successful people that you talk to, not only are they backing their business plans with a deep sense of desire, but they actually have a healthy sense of gratitude about it. Like they have a sense of happiness that they're off to the races, that they have some passion and some gratitude that centers um, in their residential real estate business plan because they're focusing on words like I want to do this and I get to do this, which are gratitude driven words. When you deal with I ought to do this or I have to do this, then you're probably in some parts of your real estate career having some sort of resentment about your career or some sort of even victimization. I have to do this. I ought to be doing this. It's a requirement or a task, or there's some sort of an authority over you or some sort of guilt that you're not doing the things you're supposed to do. And then you feel a little oppressed or even angry. And those are key characteristics of entrepreneurs, right? I know an entrepreneur that's constantly pessimistic, constantly anxious, constantly concerned about what's not going well, but they're not focused on the gratitude and the enthusiasm and the energy of what they get to do in their career and what they really want to create in their career. And this is the essence of business planning. Happy, prosperous, richly rewarded entrepreneurs. And I invert the word entrepreneurs and realtors because realtors are entrepreneurs. They have to be. Realtors are self-employed, but some of them view themselves as the sole author and illustrator of their career and their life story. But in my observation of realtors over the last 35 years, these underperforming or average realtors, and certainly the below average performers, really see themselves as a victim of circumstances in a lot of times. They think that the market condition is dictating how successful they can be. Or they think that the brokerage policies or even like the consumer's decision making processes is victimizing them. Like, I have to go show this guy some more houses, and there's a sense of resentment in it. So, really check yourself before you wreck yourself in your attitude. Because if your attitude is not deep, burning desire, and gratitude and enthusiasm and energy and love and purpose, you're probably going to stay on the right side of the continuum. And could you still be successful with a have to, ought to mentality and with resentment and jealousy and anger? Yes, you could still be successful, but I would think that your journey would be more joyful as you approach this next chapter in your residential real estate career if you can stay focused on the fact that you're the author and the illustrator of your career and your life story. So we got to go back to this question as to what is your why, and understanding that a plan that's not rooted in a deep desire is not going to be a successful plan. So yes, we're going to get into specific plans, but we need to understand your why. So part of the responsibility of an entrepreneur, and an entrepreneur that happens to be in residential real estate, is thinking and dwelling or even meditating and praying about that which you want most. So fix your mind on that which you want most. I got to put 3 kids through college. I want to put 3 kids through college. I got to buy a new car. I want to buy a new car, right? How about I need to buy a 4 bedroom, 3 bath house. I can't live in this 3 bedroom, 2 bath house anymore. I need to, I want to, I have to. How you frame that is going to set you up living in gratitude, living in passion, or living in resentment and authority. So fix your mind on that which you want most and how you will create it into your life and make that your personal responsibility. Some of the younger realtors that I coach focus on their automobile as one of their key driving wants. It could be paying off their student loans from college. Some of the realtors that I talk to are motivated by their next homestead that they're going to be able to purchase, and that's the driver behind their plan. Later in my career, I became obsessed with travel and generational wealth. After 30 years, after 30 years of selling residential real estate successfully, I started to focus on how wealth would be transitioned to my children and my spouse. College savings was taken care of because I worked hard on that during my first 10 and 15 and 20 years in the business. Now I could start focusing on really building a secure, comfortable retirement. For you, each one of you is at a different building block of your career, right? You're at a different stage of your career, but it is incumbent upon you to really dwell on, meditate on, and think about your mindset and what is driving your motivation and why do you want to do this real estate career. But potentially it's caring for a child or your family. Some of us have elderly parents, and we need to take care of them. I know some of my realtors just get highly motivated by, going to expensive sporting events or cultural events or plays or going out on Broadway or going to see stand-up comedy. Others are driven by philanthropy. This idea that I'm able to tithe and I'm able to give of myself to others. And then on the bottom right hand side of your screen, a very real motivator for some of our realtor friends is just sheer competition. They don't like to be second best. They don't want to be average. They want to be competitive with the elite realtors in their community. And that's what drives their greater why. So I just want to express to you before we get into the nuts and bolts of this plan that having a plan without passion and conviction isn't going to do us any good. We need to have the fuel of the desire for that which you want most. And that could be one of these items in blue ink down the right side of your screen, or it could be just the sheer competition of it all. But you better get really clear with the man in the mirror or the lady in the mirror as to what it is that's driving your need for a business plan. As we approach this business plan, and we're just about to dig into the granular on it, remember that it's going to become by when, right? The difference between a dream and a goal is that the goal has to have a deadline, right? You start to build that. So I love this screen because there's actually 3 parts to every plan. There has to be the dream, which represents the why or the desire. Then there's the goal, which is how will that dream manifest in my life? If I want to drive a new Lexus, if I want to drive a new Mercedes, if I want to own a new, much larger home, then that's the why. Now, the goal is the how am I going to get there? And then last but not least, the when is the actual business plan. Now, those are 3 parts to a beautiful business plan, and we're going to get into that for a minute. But see, real estate needs that architect that entrepreneur that dreams and envisions a thing. Then it needs this engineer that figures out how to do it. And then it needs this technician that's actually going to execute it, right? And execution is the ugliest four-letter word in residential real estate. And that word is WORK, work, that you actually have to physically now execute that plan that you made. And I think that's where it breaks down for most people. You make a great fitness plan, you make a great diet plan, you make a great travel itinerary, and then you just don't follow it. You don't execute that that plan, that diet, that recipe in the exact manner that you laid it out. So let's go ahead and get granular in the observations of several business plans that we've observed across the country. And we're going to use this benchmark called 16 closings. And the reason we're going to use that is that residential real estate professionals that exceed one closing per month are starting to get into an enterprise that looks and feels a little bit more like a business. And they're starting to manage source of business charting, and they're starting to measure where deals are coming from, not just that deals are coming, right? So you're looking for that one deal a month benchmark, and then you start to get above that and you start to feel more confident in your career path. So we're going to use 16 as the number. Now we can't use Keokuk, Iowa at $3,500 per transaction, and we can't use Los Angeles, California at $40,000 per transaction. We have to use kind of some round numbers, but it's incumbent upon you to take a look at your personal production over the last couple of years. If you're new to the business, go ahead and ask your broker, generally what's the average real estate commission per transaction in our market, and what can I expect to earn on an average commission. For today, we're going to use 6,500, which represent about a 285 purchase price with about a 2.5% commission, or maybe a 225 with a 3% commission. You kind of get the idea. We're just using ballpark round 6,500, our average commission per transaction, to illustrate this business plan. Now, this is where things get interesting to me as a leader in residential real estate, because very few of the real estate partners that I meet have a business plan at all. Some of them are operating strictly by the seat of their pants on a day-to-day basis. But when you look at a forecast like this, you see four distinct sources of business, right? You see the personal sphere of influence on the left-hand side. You see the subdivision that you're farming, dead center left. And then you see your social media campaigns. And then last but not least, possibly an absentee owner residential real estate prospecting campaign. So now you have what I consider to be some forecasting that relies on probable and likely metrics rather than enthusiastic, aspirations. Just because I want to sell 15 houses a year for my sphere of influence doesn't mean I'm going to, right? So managing our expectations for each source of business is the first mature way to start to look at our business plan. So in this particular plan, which I'm very, very fond of, by the way, I see four moderately successful sources of business. I'm not putting all my eggs in my social media campaign. I'm not putting all my eggs in my farm area. I'm not putting all my eggs in my sphere of influence database, but rather I'm forecasting some probable and likely results from each of four different sources of business. So in this business plan, we highly recommend that the first thing that you do is to get proactive rather than reactive, centered around your friends and family, your past customers, and your networking opportunities. Where do you find more people that know and like you, and how can you find even a greater expansive marketplace of people who may recognize you and become more familiar with you? And the way to do that is certainly through social media and being more proactive in your instant messaging to your friends and family, being proactive about what you're posting ensuring that more than, 50, 60, 70% of your posts are business oriented posts. A lot of my real estate partners from across the country rely on old fashioned handwritten notes and holiday cards with their sphere of influence because it creates that personal interaction around their birthdays and around their anniversaries and their engagement of what day they bought their home from you. And these anniversary engagements or birthday engagements are now personal and frequent, annually. And then a lot of opportunity is just to call your customers frequently, your sphere of influence, and say, "Hi, Bob, it's Russ. I'm with XYZ Real Estate. And I haven't seen you in a while." The way to do that is to have notes about each customer in your database and to remind yourself just before you call them what their child's name is, what their dog's name is, what their favorite team is. And if you have an event coming up, or if you just achieved your real estate staging certification, now all of a sudden you have a reason to call them. I just wanted to let you know, in addition to being one of the best realtors in town, I'm also a residential real estate staging expert, and I can help you with those pre-market decisions to get your house ready for the market. Do you have any interest in selling your house in the next 6 to 12 months? No? Okay. Do you know anybody in your family or friends circle that are thinking about buying or selling a house in the next 6 to 12 months? Okay, great. Well, thank you. Keep me in mind. And remember, I offer free staging consultations to all of my real estate clients. It's just a nice way to stay in front of your sphere of influence with social media, with handwritten notes, birthday cards, and then last but not least, some type of a customer appreciation call or survey. And we recommend not less than twice a year to be on the phone with those sphere of influence customers. So here you come, your first task mastery. You get to have a telephone conversation with all of the people in your sphere of influence at least 2 times a year. You get to do that. And that means you have to be thoughtful about how you prepare for those calls. How's Bobby doing? What's he in, third grade now, fourth grade? Oh my gosh, it seems like only yesterday. You're creating a personal interaction with your sphere of influence, and then you bring some news to the table. Hey, I want to let you know, I just completed my renovation real estate certification, and now that I'm certified to do renovation projects, I would love the opportunity to look at an investment property with you. There's a lot of foreclosures that are going to be coming on the market during 2022 and beyond. There's more distressed properties than you could be aware of because of the divorces and the job losses and the probate cases. We still have a lot of distressed properties, and we could probably find you a fixer upper. If you ever want to do one, remember, I'm a renovation real estate specialist. I'm a staging expert. I'm a pet-friendly real estate agent. If you're ever thinking about moving with a pet, please call me. Remember, I'm a pet-friendly real estate agent, right? So these are easy ways to adapt some of your certifications through AnnieMac Home Mortgages Works program right into your customer appreciation calls. If you're not familiar with pet-friendly, if you're not familiar with the renovation lending certification at AnnieMac Home Mortgage, or if you're not familiar with the staging certification that we offer, go ahead and reach out to your mortgage professional and say, "Hey, I wouldn't mind getting certified in the pet friendly world or getting certified in the renovation real estate world," because those are value add propositions for your sphere of influence calls. The next thing we're going to recommend in this 16 transaction business plan is a geographic farm area where you're farming a subdivision. And that means that those families that live within that subdivision are part of a targeted social media campaign from you. About 2 posts per week that are going out targeting those subdivision homeowners that live in your targeted subdivision, right? We're looking for 4 letters a year to go out, just one a quarter that goes out to that subdivision on your behalf, and one holiday card per year. If you're not familiar with some of these geographic farming techniques, ask your mortgage professional today if you could participate in one of our 6-week coaching programs called Farming Fridays. We have 6 modules that walk you through exactly how to manage a geographic farm area on a budget and with return on investment profitability. So you're going to do about 2 posts a week to your farm. You're going to do 1 letter a quarter to your farm, 1 holiday card every year, and then probably you want to mix in like 1 back to school calendar and 1 sporting event calendar, even if it's the little league team in your local market that you're producing. Now, if you want to get really aggressive with your farm, back it up with glossy postcards or a newsletter. And all that's covered, all that decision making is covered in a program sponsored entirely by your mortgage professional, the guy who's in the room, the lady who's in the room with you right now that works for AnnieMac, or the person who turned you on to this on-demand library, or if it's one of your real estate brokerage partners that are hosting a coaching event, ask them about it. Say, how do I get involved with Farming Fridays? Because you'll be able to manage your geographic farm area more effectively if you've gone through that 6-week coaching program. But as you're building your business plan, you want to start to focus on things like market reports and calendars. And I actually, for 17 years, door knocked my farm area. I would come over with a little staging invite or a little bonus value add, and I would say, hey, I just want to remind you, I'm the realtor that works here in the Landings, and I'm kind of the local expert here in the Landings. And if you'd like to, I can give you a free staging analysis before you ever put your home on the market. So if you're ever thinking about listing your home for sale, remember, I'm a staging professional as well as being a residential real estate professional. So those are just some tips. But the next thing I want to talk about is 4 closings contributed from your social media campaign. You're looking for about 25 leads a month if you're a beginner. Now, there's a course available to you on AnnieMac Worx that's called How to Turn a $10 Facebook ad into $10,000. And we do that by using this formula. About 5 or 6 leads per week equals about 25 leads per month. We use a long form or what we call a squeeze page. I don't know if you've ever heard of Unbounce or a squeeze page or a landing page. We use these squeeze pages and these landing pages to promote on social media. So when the customer fills out the long form, they say, hey, I'm interested in stop renting now. I want to lose my landlord and gain ownership. Or they actually see a thing called off-market listings. How can I get listings before they make it to Zillow or Realtor.com? This is a very effective squeeze page, a very effective long form that we use on social media today. And that's all taught to you in an AnnieMac Worx format called How to Turn a $10 ad into $10,000. But imagine if you were doing 4 closings a year, 1 a quarter from Facebook. Some of you would be deeply depressed and sorely disappointed that you're only closing 4 actual transactions closing from your social media campaign, while others of you would be thrilled to add 4 additional closings from your social media campaign. What I'm recommending is I'm not dictating what your desire and your passion and your conviction are going to bring you in residential real estate. I'm showing you a business plan that is probable and likely for any realtor who's online today to go ahead and execute to add 16 closings per year. That's 4 from Facebook. Many of our partners do 12 or 15 from their social media campaign, but it's always about, can you at least get the 4 transactions closed from your social media? And the last area that I like to focus on with our realtors is those homeowners in your community that don't live in those houses. Their parents own a house. They own a house that their parents live in. They own a house that their child lives in. They own a home that tenants live in. Maybe they own a quadplex or a duplex or a triplex. These absentee owners represent an exceptional opportunity for hungry real estate agents to send out 20 handwritten notes per week over the course of a 40-week calendar timeline. If you're able to send out 800 handwritten notes a year, your cost for that is going to be fairly low for the return on investment. So my numbers have been 800 notes equals somewhere between 4 and 8 listings a year that come from those notes. And this is proven in hundreds of markets across the country. But for you, we want to set that benchmark at 4 transactions per year that come out of your absentee owner campaign. So let's take one more look at the forecast as an annual plan. If you were able to do 4 closings from your sphere of influence, 4 closings from your geographic subdivision, and a like-minded 4 from Facebook and absentee owners, you might be underwhelmed by that, right? You might say, geez, that doesn't sound that ambitious at all. But only the top 5% of realtors in the entire country do 16 closings a year. So maybe incrementally it's not that impressive, but cumulatively, you're all of a sudden making $100,000 a year. That's a $100,000 a year business plan that is very, very easy to manage, has some benchmarks that are very moderate or even a little bit underwhelming to get 4 transactions from absentee, 4 from Facebook, 4 from subdivision. Now, I've got a bunch of realtors that have written business plans that look like this using the same 4 sources. So I'm going to do 6 closings a year for my farm. I'm going to do 8 closings a year for my sphere of influence. I know that I can do a deal a month from my social media lead campaign because I get about 25 leads a month from my social media campaign. And that means I only have to close 1 a month of the 25 that come in. And then rather than basing it on 4 closings a year for their absentee owner, they've actually got enough track record, enough experience, and enough confidence to forecast 6 closings each year from their absentee owner campaign. So now you're taking that original business plan that's now manifested over a 12, 18, 24 month commitment on your side, but you're now starting to see 32 closings a year from those same 4 sources of business. Can you see how the consistency of mastering the skills of subdivision farming, the consistency of a proactive sphere of influence campaign, and the consistency of your social media campaigns now brings a higher return on investment than it did maybe in your first 6 months or a year? I hope that's clear as to how you grow exponentially by using the same 4 sources of business. Now, we take the same exact business plan with 12 closings in a higher priced market where you can do 15 grand per commission. Now you're talking about probably a $400,000 house at 3% pays $12,000. Let's say it's a $500,000 price point, right? You're starting to see, $13,000 to $16,000 per closing rather than the 6,500 used before. So now you take that same business plan that we did in a lower price market, and this realtor's bringing in from the same labor $180,000 a year in gross commission income. And that's how we measure everything. GCI, right? Gross commission income, $180,000. I will take just another moment to share with you a sketch of a business plan that I'm very, very familiar with. I know this realtor very well. And he uses the for sale by owner e-bowl program to list about 1 home every other month. So he's consistently working the for sale by owner e-bowl program, and it gets him maybe a couple of inquiries a month, and then one of those inquiries turn into a listing every other month, right? That's kind of about how it feels. And then he uses this expired listing letter that we've always used, and he sends that letter out to the expireds every day, actually every single day. And he's able to close 8 transactions a year from his expired listing campaign. So this looks like a much more complex, larger adaptation of source of business planning and planning out your business. But look at his BNI group. He's been involved in this BNI group for about 3 or 4 years, and he's doing 7 transactions a year from just being in his BNI group. Or maybe you personally have a Google pay-per-click budget, and that that for every $1,000 that you spend in Google pay-per-click, you're getting back enough volume of highly motivated buyers to close 10 a year. You know that you can do that confidently. This particular gentleman, like myself, about 8 closings a year from absentee owners. Social media leads, still about 6. Subdivision farming, he's been farming the same subdivision now for about 8 years. So he closes about 8 transactions a year from that geographic farm area. And then if you look on the farthest side of your source of business forecast, his sphere of influence is about 7 deals a year consistent. So now you're looking at 60 closings a year brought about by 8 sources of business, just 8 independently operating silos. Think of that word, silo. Does it have an independently operating plan in your absentee owners? Do you have an independently operating set of tasks that you have to do for your B&I group? Do you know how to do your geographic farm area? So if you're not familiar with the expired listing campaigns from AnnieMac Worx, I'm going to show you how to get all that stuff in just a minute. If you're not familiar with sphere of influence marketing, we're going to show you how to get that stuff. There's no charge for anything we do. It's all sponsored by that mortgage professional that introduced you to AnnieMac Home Mortgage in the first place. That mortgage professional that might be in the room with you, please reach out to your mortgage professional for access to more of these coaching programs. This, my friends, is better than an average physician's income. This is a $360,000 a year business plan. This is someone who I know personally for many, many years. It's a very realistic business plan, and it doesn't require extraordinary talent. It doesn't require extraordinary work. It only requires ordinary work that's done over and over and over again. In the beginning of this session, we said time on task over time. So this person begins to say to themselves, every 2 weeks, I've got to work on my sphere of influence. Once a week, I've got to work on these buy owners. Once a week, I've got to do my subdivision farming stuff, right? And that's the time on task over time that increases the number of sources of business that you're working, but maybe more importantly, the effectiveness that you're working within that source of business. So this is a legitimate real estate agent I'm very familiar with that brings in more than $360,000 a year this year. And it's really exciting for me to share some of those granular business plans with you. The thing I want you to remember is that unlike a career path in corporate America, and unlike a career path in many areas of endeavor, residential real estate is one of those places that doesn't penalize gender, race, or language. If you speak fluent Portuguese, you actually have an advantage. If you speak fluent Mandarin, you actually have an advantage, right? Women outperform men in residential real estate. 3/4 of realtors are female. There's no gender bias, there's no race bias, and there's certainly no language bias that can keep you down. It just clearly helps you define your area of specialization. It doesn't dictate your income. Your income can be $100, $200, $300,000 a year or more once you realize that the only person that's in the way of that is you. You have to get time on task over time. You have to start time blocking these ritualistic behaviors. One of my favorite quotes in residential real estate is that successful realtors are ritualistic by nature. They do the same thing over and over and over, time on task over time. So I want to thank you for spending a little bit of time with AnnieMac Home Mortgage and AnnieMac Worx. If you're not familiar with the AnnieMacWorx.com website, go ahead and dive in. There's an on-demand library. There's a National Lunch and Learn League. There are individual certifications and classes that you can take on your own, or you can ask your mortgage professional to gain access to. The 3 that I would recommend highest to my realtor friends is get certified as a real estate pro. Get certified as a renovation real estate pro. That means that you're equipped to sell houses that need to be renovated with AnnieMac Home Mortgage's renovation lending products. So we now can lend you on the future appraised value of a property even though the repairs haven't been done yet. That's an AnnieMac program called renovation lending. You can become a pet friendly real estate agent and access 85 million pet lovers in our network that are interested in buying and selling homes, but they don't want to move without their pet. They face pet discrimination, they face breed restrictions, they face weight restrictions, and they have challenges moving with certain pets. And then all the way to the far right, get beyond the real estate staging expert designation, get access to those marketing materials that we give to you as a realtor, get access to those letter templates and those postcard templates and those door hanger templates, and maybe most importantly, get access to the social media content that you can project out to your sphere of influence that you are now a real estate staging expert as well as one of the best realtors in town. So get to know us better at AnnieMacWorx.com. One of my favorite sections on that website is this place called Worx Classics. There's some of the older courses that are so sound in their foundation, and they're so they're kind of they transcend annual changes in the marketplace. They're really specific for you as a realtor to take to build a foundation of knowledge and expertise in residential real estate. My name is Russ Fitzpatrick. I want to shout out a great big thank you to the mortgage professional who invited you here today. And I hope to goodness that your time with us today fuels a deeper, white hot, burning desire. Build some passion and conviction behind your business plan so that the words on the page don't just get stuck in a drawer somewhere, but they become the foundation and the authority of your 2022 real estate career, and that you're able to sell not less than 16 homes a year or to add the production that you're looking to add. Thanks again for attending. This was Building a Bulletproof Business Plan with AnnieMac Worx.